Washington and Spokane voters are famously independent, voting for the person and not the party. Voters want to know the person behind the policy. Join host Sulani Madsen as she interviews 2016 general election candidates for local, state, and federal office on the experiences that have shaped their lives. The Meet the Candidate series is sponsored as a community service by the Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, the law office of D.C. Cronin, and We Believe, We Vote. Now, here's your host, Sulani.
Welcome to Meet the Candidate, and my guest for the session is Mike Foster, who is running for state representative in the 7th Legislative District. Welcome, Mike.
Well, thank you for your time, Sulani. I appreciate it.
You're going to need to sit a little closer to the mic there, probably about that far, and we'll be good. So, first off, how do you see the responsibilities of the office?
Well, my main responsibility is to maintain and protect the rights of each individual citizen. The power that any representative has comes directly from the people they represent, or the governed. I would like to truly serve the people as their representative.
Okay, and I find that everybody's background is a little bit different, what they bring to the position. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Mount Vernon, Washington, on the western side of the state, which is a farming community. I started picking berries when I was 10 years old. Moved up to cauliflower when I was 12 years old.
I'm not sure you can still do that anymore.
Nope, you have to wait till you're 16, and then you can only work part-time.
Yeah, that's too bad. I've heard some really good stories in doing these interviews of candidates of first jobs that were at 8 or 10 or 12 and things that people learned from those stories.
I did start mowing lawns at around 8, but my first I-9 was picking berries.
First I-9. Okay. So you grew up there, went to school, and did you pursue any education after high school?
Yes, I hold a bachelor's degree in computer science, specified or concentrated in software systems engineering.
Okay. And you're up at Newport right now.
Correct.
And what are you working at there?
I am in property management for Goodale and Barbieri, based out of Spokane here.
Okay, I didn't even realize that they had branches in outside of Spokane.
Oh yeah, they have managed property in Washington, Idaho, and Montana.
Okay, what's the most interesting thing that you think you've learned in your time as a property manager?
How to properly handle individual disputes between different individuals. We all are individuals in the way we look at life and what we do. Managing the disputes between individuals can sometimes be a difficult task, but we have to remember that we all have our individual rights and to treat each individual as that individual person, and that seems to settle most disputes.
So what have you learned in your background that's helped you you referee those disputes?
A lot of it is the discipline I learned in the military, in both the Army and the Navy.
Oh, really? You were in both branches?
Yes, I was.
Which first?
The Army.
And you enlisted
in 1991.
Out of high school?
Yes. Well, actually, when I was 17.
Oh, in 17, early.
Yes.
What was your job area?
My main MOS was 17 Lima, which was an administrative assistant, and because I was 17. After that, and you cannot volunteer for a combat unit until you're 18, so I just went for additional training after that.
Okay, and so you served one tour with the Army?
One tour with the Army, and then a little over one tour with the Navy, and then I got recalled in 2003.
So when the Army-Navy game plays, who do you root for?
I stay out of it.
Probably a good plan.
I learned quite a bit from both branches of service.
Really? Well, what was something that you learned from that service that you hold on to as something to use today?
What I learned from seeing different people in different cultures. and how everybody around the world loves their individual rights. That's why I so strongly believe in our individual rights as people across the world.
You said around the world. Where did the military send you?
I've been to Iraq, Kuwait. I've been all over Europe, but that was on a Europass, which was nice in the military. Japan, Australia, Bali, Dubai, briefly off the coast of Africa, all over the place.
In which culture felt the most comfortable and which the most different?
Western Europe was definitely the most comfortable.
That makes sense.
The least comfortable was probably Iraq or the Middle East, as the Muslim and Christian cultures are completely different.
Yeah, and we're seeing more crossover into Western Europe. That's causing them considerable issues. Was that the case when you traveled, or is that a later development?
Well, because we were there in a capacity of war, there was a lot more tension, I would say. But they are seeing that tension in the belief systems in Germany specifically right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a different cultural upbringing that you do not see in the Western world.
Okay. Well, you grew up in Mount Vernon, and if your last military service was in the Navy, and the Navy isn't actually in Eastern Washington, how did you end up in Ponderay County and in the 7th Legislative District?
Well, my mother and stepfather moved to Newport about, let's say, 9 years ago to retire. My stepfather had severe stomach and heart issues, and my mom called me and said, "Hey, Mike, can you come out and help us out with the farm?" At the time, I was an individual trader, and I said, "Yeah, I can trade wherever I want." So I came out here, and initially, so that I wasn't a burden on my family, I found a job and started working that job, and then after work, I'd go out and help out on the farm until we got things winterized and my stepfather recovered.
Okay. That sounds like a good reason to move for family, and you've discovered that you really like it in the area?
Yeah. Living in a small town is so much nicer than living in a large city. Your neighbors are much friendlier. You actually know your neighbors, whereas you don't in a large city. Commutes are much, much easier. It's just an easier way of life.
Yeah, except when you had to come
Simpler
down
way
North
of
Division at the kind of rush hour today. But
true.
yeah, that's a little different. So what made you decide to run for office? That's not something everybody steps up to do.
I took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America in the military. And I just see our rights being stripped away from us by the political machine, which is the Republican and Democratic parties. And I don't believe I can idly stand by and watch that when I take my oath to this country seriously.
So you see it as a continuation of that public service.
Correct.
Continuation of that oath. Well, I have the last couple minutes here for you for a answer to the question: why vote for Mike Foster for 7th District Legislative Representative?
Well, I will truly represent everyone in the 7th Legislative District, maintaining and protecting and restoring, well, at this point, their rights. I will serve them. I will not serve a political party. I will not serve a special interest. I will not serve my own interests. I will serve the people. My main goals are to reduce taxes and reduce regulations on business so that we have more opportunity in the business sector, to reduce the cost of health care, and to open up educational opportunities so parents can choose the schools they'd like their kids to go to, whether that be a public, private, charter school, homeschooling, or opting out for a half vocational, half educational school if their child is technically or mechanically inclined. and break up the administrative pool, give that money to the principals, let them choose the curriculum for the school, so all the schools can compete, and we can find what is the best curriculum for education for our children in Washington State. Then watch schools around the country fight for them.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming into the studio today, Mike, to join us, and Godspeed on your campaign.
Thank you.
Meet the Candidate is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. The Meet the Candidate series is sponsored as a community service by the Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, the Law Office of D.C. Cronin, and We Believe, We Vote. All Meet the Candidate conversations are posted on our YouTube channel, posted as a podcast on our website, and will be featured in our 24/7 live stream. Find us at SpokaneTalksOnline.com.